Hi everyone, Trishna here. Welcome to another pick a card reading. In this video, we're going to focus on the question, am I on my spiritual path? And we're going to be using 3 different decks for this video. We're going to be using the Witch's Tarot, the Gilded Reverie Lenormand deck, and then also the Rider-Waite Smith deck. So in a second here, I'm going to show you the 4 different decks for you to pick from. So go ahead and pick a number from 1 through 4 or pick one of the decks 1 through 4, and then we'll get started with the reading. All right, so we have group number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Take a moment to focus on the cards and select your group, and we'll begin with our reading. All right, group number 1. So from an intuitive perspective, I feel like the answer to the question, are you on your spiritual path? I feel like the answer is yes. I feel like you have basically really grounded within your spiritual path, within your spiritual journey. I feel like you probably have daily routines that you do every single day that just really calm you, really ground you, and allow you to make sure that you're always working on your path because you are doing something daily. And I feel like you are at this point where you don't need your path to be flashy. You don't need your rituals or practices to be very flashy and original and different every day. You understand that there is a process and you very much trust in that process. So I would say that yes, you are definitely on your spiritual path. So looking at the cards, what I'm feeling for you is the first card we have is the House from the Lenormand deck. And I feel like what this represents is I feel like you're so immersed in your spiritual path and in your spirituality that not only do you have daily routines, you probably have decorations within your home, your whole house decked out in a spiritual way, or as much of it as you possibly can. So you probably have candles, or you have tapestries, or you have magical items and things like that. You somehow have decorated your home or made your home a very spiritual place so that not only are you doing your practices, but you are constantly immersed in a spiritual place. And if you are not able to actually deck out your home and put out decorations or like set up a meditation space or something like that, then I feel like in your mind you're very much immersed in the spiritual realm, where if you cannot make your home look like that, in your mind you very much live in this very spiritual place. So the next word that we have is the Child. And what I feel this represents is I feel like you have been very connected to spirituality or magic or something like that since a very, very young age, since you were a child. You were able to see the magic in the air. You were able to see what others could not see. And you were able to hold on to that even into your adulthood. Whereas many other kids start to lose that and lose that connection to their imagination and being able to see what adults cannot see. As they become adults, they lose that ability themselves. You were able to hold on to that. You've never lost the sense of being connected to spirituality or being connected to the magic. The next card we have is the Six of Swords, and I feel like this basically represents something from your childhood. I feel like there were maybe a lot of hardships in your childhood. I feel like for most of you, maybe your parents were not very well off, and they were not very well off. There wasn't a lot of money in the household, and they were not really able to completely shelter you from that reality. You were very much exposed to the fact that your family did not always have enough, and maybe sometimes you had to go out and get extra jobs, or you had to support your family in some way, something like that. Or maybe you had to stay home and take care of your siblings or something like that while your parents had to work extra shifts or find some way to make ends meet. And I feel like because of those hardships that were a part of your family and that were not filtered from your life experience, from your childhood, that you had to deal with in your childhood, that's why you were able to stay connected to the magic, and that's why you were able to see the magic, because you had to be able to find some form of happiness. And that was through magic. That was through believing and imagining and seeing things that others could not see. And you also were able to, and that was also your way to connect to happiness, because your physical situation was difficult. You had to connect with something greater than yourself. You had to connect with the spirit world in order to ground yourself and give yourself that sense of happiness. And that is why you are so attuned to spirituality. That is why you had it from such a young age, and why you never lost it into your adulthood, and why you have these rituals, and why you're so connected to it on such a deep level, and why you don't question the process, and why you're not always needing to find the flashiest thing. It's very much something that has been a part of your life since the beginning of your life, almost essentially, and you know that the process works. and you have a lot of trust built into the spiritual realm. You don't have to jump from one thing to the other thing to see if that works or that works. You know that it works. You have this very deep trust and connection with spirituality or magic or something like that. Now, we have the Two of Pentacles, and this represents having to make difficult decisions or having to decide between two things. I do feel like you are having to juggle two things or decide between two things. I feel like you sometimes maybe have to think about, should I help myself or should I help others? Should I focus on making myself successful or should I focus on making others successful? It may not be these two things that you are juggling between, but you are juggling between two things is what I feel, and also what the cards are saying. And I don't think you really need to pick between one or the other. I feel like the answer is to do both. The reason why you sometimes wonder, should I be focusing on myself? Should I be focusing on building myself up and making myself successful or using my powers and spirituality to help myself instead of helping others, is because that's how you started. You started as a child having to use this primarily to give yourself happiness. Yes, you wanted to use it to help your parents and things like that. That was important as well. But also it was very much what you needed to be happy. It's what you needed to support you as you went through a difficult childhood. So it's something that became very personalized to you and something that you were very connected to on an individual level. And it's not always something that you readily want to share with others because it is so personal to you. And so yes, there are some things that if you want to keep it personal, keep it personal. That was for you. You had this childhood and you built this connection because that was what you needed to do. That was a part of your path. So it is okay to keep some things personal and to yourself. And it is okay to use your spirituality to help yourself. That is what brought you from childhood to adulthood in this state that you are right now, where you are successful in this realm. I do think though that it is important to help other people, and I think that's because you did want to help others as a child, and I think that that felt really good to you, and you kind of lost that as you went through time. And so right now that's why you're kind of grappling with this. It's like, well, I've always kind of used this to help myself. Maybe this is a path that's just for me. Maybe I'm not supposed to help other people. But I feel, group number one, that if you only use this to help yourself, that somehow, so here's where the next card comes in, the Ten of Swords. I feel like you will be doing yourself a disservice. I feel like other people will kind of get the sense that you're only in it for yourself, and they won't really like that. And so while it will bring you some limited success in the short term, it won't really bring you success in the long term. I feel like part of your growth, part of your arc, part of your story is that, yeah, you had a difficult time. You built this really strong connection with spirituality. It encompasses every aspect of your life as much as it possibly can. And now it's time for you to channel that out and to grow those abilities and to help the wider audience. So I feel like that's why this isn't really going to work out for you if you only help yourself. You should still help yourself. You are very important, but also try to expand that to be able to help others as well. And then you will basically mature and become that King of Wands. The King of Wands is somebody who does want to help other people. And that is ultimately what you want to do. When you were young, you really had to use most of it for yourself, but you did help your parents, you did help your family, and you got a lot of joy out of that. And I think you will get a lot of happiness and joy by doing that in the future and expanding your audience. Now, you don't have to go out and help the world. You don't have to go out and start a business and try to help as many clients as possible. You can just help your immediate network. You can help your family, you can help your partner, you can help your children, you can help your relatives, you can help some of your friends. You don't have to make this super huge, but I think it is supposed to go beyond yourself in order for you to channel the gifts that you were, I don't want to say that you were given, you were given it, but you also have to discover it for yourself. So you also developed it for yourself. I don't want to take credit away from everything that you've done, but you have these gifts and they're here to help yourself, but also your immediate network as well. So that's what I'm getting for you, group number one. The answer to, are you on your spiritual path? The answer is very much yes. And now you know how to continue that path and expand it a little bit. All right, group number two. So intuitively, when I tap into the question, are you on your spiritual path? The feeling that I get for you, group number two, is no, I do not feel like you're on your spiritual path at this point in time. I feel like maybe it's something that you have known about, but haven't really paid attention to or been very interested in. Or if you have been interested in it, you've never really stuck with it religiously, you haven't been very consistent with it, and maybe your belief kind of goes in and out. I feel like you just haven't really focused on it for one reason or another. It's just not been something that you've put a lot of your focus or priority on at this point in time. So looking at the cards, the first card that we have the dog. And I feel like this is saying, hey, like, I know I haven't been on my spiritual path, but I want to, like, I'm interested. I think that it's an interesting concept and an interesting idea, and it's something that I would like to get involved in. And I think that that's true. I think that you have been interested in it before. Like I was saying, you have dabbled in and out on it. You just haven't really done it very consistently. And, you know, you've been interested, but also at the same time, you haven't really prioritized it. You haven't really bridged that belief gap that this is something that's real or that this is something that's actually worth taking serious note of. It's something that I think has been like an interesting idea and something that maybe you've played around with, but not something that you've really taken very seriously. And when I look at the next card, the staircase, this is the card of having to make decisions. But what I feel for you is I feel like you've chosen a different path. You can't ever really go off of your spiritual path, not like truly. You can't like make a lot of mistakes when it comes to living your life. You can choose different pathways, but like ultimately isn't your path always kind of your path in some form or another? But there is always some path that your higher self would like you to follow or that is trying to guide you towards. And I feel like you haven't really been paying attention to that path. You've always kind of gone your own way. You've always maybe listened to other people over yourself. You've always followed the more practical route than the more riskier spiritual kind of route. And so you've always made, between choosing your path and not choosing your path, you've always kind of gone and explored a different option. And usually that option was probably dictated by other people and what they thought that you should do or how they thought that you should live your life or what decisions they thought you should make. The next card is the Ace of Wands. I feel like you've been given many opportunities from the heavens to be able to pursue your spiritual path. And I feel like you've maybe dabbled. This is probably where you dabbled when you were kind of like shown something. You're like, oh, that's interesting. You dabbled in it, but then you weren't really consistent with it. So you've been given many opportunities to pursue your spiritual path, but you haven't really taken it, at least not consistently. And again, I feel like you've also received some mentors who were spiritual mentors or people who could help you in that realm, whether or not they showed up as a spiritual person, but there were people who could kind of help you with that, no matter what their outer casing seemed like. And you haven't really listened to those mentors either. I'm not sure who you've been listening to, because you've been listening to somebody. But it hasn't been like the people who could actually help you on your spiritual path. With the Six of Wands, I feel like you have had some success in life. No path again is really wrong. You don't need to be a spiritual person to be successful. You can be successful without that. And so you have been very successful, but I feel like maybe there's something missing, and I don't know if you've realized that. Maybe you have, but there is something that's missing. Like, it's great to have all this success, but if you don't have this connection to something that's a little bit greater than yourself, or connection to the flow of the universe, or connection to other people, or understanding that we are all one, or some kind of connection in some way, then sometimes the victories can seem a little bit empty. So I feel like maybe from time to time, you've had that. And I don't know if you've really noticed that, but I feel like you have had that. But of course, there's nothing to worry. Again, like, this is just a decision that you have made. It's not that you are lost to the spiritual path. Again, you've always had opportunities coming your way to bring you back on that path, and you always will. And it's really just up to you on whether or not you want to go that route or not. And you don't have to if you don't want to. But it is there for you, and you will find that fulfillment that you're looking for that you haven't had. And maybe sometimes you seem really happy or you act really happy on the outside, but you're not always feeling completely on the inside, and you're just trying to distract yourself from that. And that's because you don't have that connection. Like, the connection really wants to be made, but you just have not made that choice, and that's okay, because anytime that you want to, you can make that choice. I feel like you already are kind of making that choice, or you're going to very soon, but I feel like you're already in the process of making the choice. This is the Three of Wands, of making the choice to accept all of reality, not just one aspect of reality. Because when we leave out the spiritual side, or like the emotional side, and we only focus on the mental side and what's practical, we're leaving out elements of reality, and so we can only have a limited experience because we're not including the other experiences that are available to us. And I think that you're going to start to realize that, and you're going to want to have the whole world, not just a part of the world. You're going to want to have the whole world, and you're going to want to claim that, and you're going to explore spirituality with a lot more oomph and interest and a lot more commitment than you ever have before. You might end up being more committed than a lot of other people who are mostly committed already, just because you've already experienced so much of life without it that now you're just like, yeah, it's time. It's time. Let's get into this. I'm ready. I can trust that this is something that's real because I've missed it. And I can't miss something that wasn't really real. It must be real, that missing piece of me. So yeah, group number 2, the answer is no, you have not been on your path, but it sounds like you're about to be, and that is great news. So that is what I got for you, group number 2. All right, group number 3. So intuitively, what I'm getting for you with regards to whether or not you are on your spiritual path, the answer that I'm getting for you is kind of, but the answer that I want to actually say is yes. And the reason for that, the reason why there's that disparity is because yes, you are on your spiritual path, but you're in the figuring it out stages. And so you started on your path, but there's still a lot of questions that you have. There's still a lot of research that you need to do. There's still a lot of things that you need to figure out in order to really figure out that path and figure out how to make that path yours, how to make it make sense to you, how to personalize it, and how to really follow it in a way that works for you. So I think that's why Spirit wanted to say sort of you're on your path, but to me the answer is yes, you are on your path because you started and you're researching it and you're looking into it, you're trying to answer questions, you're like doing all the steps that you need to do. So personally, I think that the answer is yes. So looking into the cards, what I see here is the first card we have is from the Lenormand deck. And it basically is the Birch and the Broom. And this kind of makes me think about like magic and possibly witchcraft. So this may or may not be your path, but I'm going to use that as the analogy as we continue on, because more than likely this is your new spiritual path, or this is a path that you're trying to figure out. And this makes sense in the context of what I felt in the intuitive portion, where there's a lot of research that you need to do. There's a lot of things you need to figure out, and you have to understand things so that you can know how to personalize it to you to make it your process that works for you individually. And that is very much the realm of magic and witchcraft. It's all about all this information and figuring out how to personalize it to you as a unique individual. So I feel like that's what this is trying to say, is this is probably the path that you're currently on right now. And I feel like regardless of what your path is, you are trying to figure things out. And that's what the birds is trying to say. Is like, I feel like you're trying to talk to people, you're trying to learn from them. Maybe you're on forums and you're trying to research things and read things and ask questions and that kind of thing. You're doing a lot of communicating with other people to get answers to your questions and to explore more and to see where the boundaries really are, because I think you understand that even though you have all these questions and things to figure out, that there's even more beyond that that you need to learn about, and you're excited about that. So you're really trying to understand the whole playing field, and you're doing that by talking to other people. Now, if this is related to witchcraft, you may also be involved or trying to get involved with some kind of coven. And again, that involves talking to other people to learn more about your craft and to build relationships and to be able to help each other in the future. Now, the next card we have is the Eight of Wands. This represents a lot of fast communication coming in. I feel like what this represents for you is that you would really like to figure this out. You're really trying to move forward very quickly. You're the one that's moving forward. It's not communication coming in very quickly. It's you moving forward, trying to get that communication to come in very quickly. I feel like at the same time, there is this Two of Swords. I feel like you're at a bit of a crossroads. You understand that this is a path that is interesting to you and that you would like to explore more, but you're not entirely sure how committed to it you want to be. You're not sure how far down the rabbit hole you want to go. You're not sure how long you want to be with this path. So I guess maybe that's why Spirit said that you're sort of on your path, because maybe you haven't truly committed to it yet. So, and I think the reason why is because of the Five of Pentacles. You're not sure. You may have some fears, you may have some doubts about your current path and whether or not it's really the right thing to do. You may, if it's witchcraft, you may feel like, hey, this might not be good. Maybe this is evil. Maybe this is bad. Maybe this is against what I should be doing. And maybe I'm going to hurt people as a result with the Five of Pentacles. Maybe I'm going to bring some kind of destruction or some kind of pain to other people. And is that really what I want? Is this really the path that I should be pursuing? So I feel like you're kind of at a crossroads and where you're very interested in this, but you're not sure that you should be. And maybe beliefs set by other people or beliefs that you have taken on somehow that were not given to you, but that you somehow decided to embody at some point in your life. Maybe those are really making you question whether you actually are interested in this. Also, some of you may be at a crossroads because you're not really sure that you are interested in all this. Yeah, you're dabbling in it, you're interested in it, there's a lot to learn, there's a lot to explore, but maybe it's too much. Maybe you feel like, oh, this is a lot, and I don't know that I'm committed to learning all of this. Like, it was fun in the beginning, but like, maybe this is going to be boring, maybe this is too much for me, and I'd rather spend my time elsewhere. So I feel like you're at this crossroads on whether or not you really want to pursue the path that you currently are on. It doesn't have to be witchcraft or anything like that, or magic, but whatever that is for you, you're not really sure that you want to be that serious about it. And finally, we have the King of Cups. And I feel like this is what you ultimately need to understand about life and about any spiritual practice. And that is that life, our journey through life and any kind of spiritual practice is supposed to bring us to a point of having this emotional maturity, having this mental maturity, having this spiritual maturity, and being able to look out into the world and not get so caught up in it, and be able to have that distance, and being able to know when we need to help others and when we need to focus on ourselves, and understanding the balance of life and how to make the right decisions and not get caught up in our emotions. And that is what any journey in life is, especially the spiritual journeys that we pursue, no matter how you choose to pursue it. So ultimately, this is what you are trying to achieve. You're not trying to, you may think, no, you don't think this, but a lot of times when people start on a spiritual journey, or whenever they work with the law of attraction, the initial attraction to that path is, ooh, what are all the things that I can get for myself? What can I attract for myself with the law of attraction? What can I get for free? What lover can I get? What success can I get? How much money can I get? It's all about the external force. It's all about the material. And that's okay, because we live in a material world. We came from the spiritual realm to the material realm to have a material physical experience. So all of that is perfectly fine. But as you go on that journey, as you pursue it years and years forward, you stop focusing so much on what I can get, and you stop focusing on what I can get materially, and it starts to become a very inward journey of, I don't really care about manifesting all this stuff that much, and I don't really care about manifesting so I can prove that I'm this powerful creator or prove that law of attraction works. All of a sudden, it starts to transform into this very internal journey of self-growth, where you start thinking like, hey, I want this, but who do I need to become internally to be able to achieve that? I don't just want it, I want to grow into the person who has this. Or, I have these dark sides, I have this anger. How can I work on myself? What is the issue within myself that I need to resolve to be at peace? So there's a whole transformation that takes place. There becomes a maturity within the spiritual journey as well. And that is ultimately what you and all of us are trying to achieve, whether or not we realize it. We may think we're here for the material stuff, but eventually, if we follow our path, it takes us to the immaterial, it takes us to the spiritual and the personal growth and development that we're really here to achieve. So it doesn't matter if what you're doing seems wrong to other people. If it's something that you want to do, you have to decide, is this something that you want to do? And I think that it is something that you want to do. I think that you, despite how much work it may seem like, you're ready to dive in. And the more you dive in, the more interest you're going to get. And maybe you're a little bit scared of that, because you think the more I dive in, the more interest I'm going to get. And the harder it is going to be for me to let go. And I'm going to go down this path that potentially is wrong or evil or something like that. And I think that you need to understand that you're not going on this path for yourself, really. I mean, you are, but you're not going on this path like to have ownership over the world and like destruct it or like create whatever you want. Part of that, yeah, you do. I mean, you came here to create. You are a creator. But it's also a journey of self-development that you're actually after. So I feel like somehow you needed to understand that, and that you needed to hear that. And I hope that that helps you make the decision, because it sounds like the decision that you need to make here is to continue on your path. Because the intuitive thing that I felt was you're sort of on your path. And I think it's because you haven't made the decision to commit to it. And so that's why Spirit's like, well, you're on it, but you haven't decided you're going to stay. So you're kind of on it, but you're not. So I think the answer here is like, you need to stay on this path. This is a path for you. You're drawn to it for a reason, because it's going to bring you this development as a human, as a spirit, as a being that is going to be very mature. Not somebody who's going to use whatever power they gain through this willy-nilly. You may use that in the short term, but not in the long term. That's not who you're ultimately trying to become. And all this power that you attain through this process, you're going to be able to use to help other people. I feel like that's something that you also really need to understand is there's not anything wrong about the path. It's about how you use the path. And I feel like you really want to use it to help people. I feel like you have a very, very strong desire to help others, especially those in your personal life, your parents, those who care for you. You very, very much want to help them and support them and love them and be able to do things for them, heal them. Maybe there's a healing aspect here that's part of your path. And yeah, and maybe for some of you, like, it feels wrong to go on this path, not because it's evil or something like some people may feel about witchcraft or magic, but because healing through a spiritual realm may seem wrong if you've grown up in a household that was very practical, very science-minded, where only one side of medicine could work, only the doctor medicine could work. When really, again, spiritual and physical realm that we live in, we're spiritual and physical beings, there is duality in everything. And so yes, definitely, doctor surgeries, so powerful, but that's, again, only one side of the equation. You also need the other side. There's always a natural complement, and the two work together, because duality makes us pick one or the other, but we don't have to pick one or the other. It can be both, and it should be both. So you may have grown up in a household where only the science mattered and the spirituality didn't. And so that might be why you were hesitating. For others of you, it could be the opposite. It was only natural medicine matters and science doesn't. And you maybe want to pursue a scientific healing path, like being a doctor or a nurse or something like that. And so you feel like somehow you're at odds, maybe in some way, and that's why you're at a crossroads. And this crossroads probably isn't so much external as you think. It's not like you against maybe your upbringing and your parents. It's more you against yourself and what you're allowing yourself to believe and what you're allowing yourself to pursue. Even though you have a very strong interest, you're being guided to pursue something, but you're battling yourself on whether or not you should do that. That's really the crossroads, is really within yourself, even though it may seem like it has to do with like family or upbringing or something like that. So group number 3, that is what I got for you. I hope this was helpful. And I'm going to move on to group number 4. Hi, group number 4. So intuitively, what I feel for you with regards to whether or not you're on your spiritual path, I feel like the answer is a very, very strong yes. You're on your spiritual path. I feel like you absolutely love spirituality. I feel like there's always a mystery to be uncovered or to be solved. There's always something that you don't know, some little piece of the puzzle that you find out that you want to learn more about. And it's just this really wonderful adventure in learning and exploring and growing and experiencing and experimenting and trying. And it's just a really, really wonderful process for you, group number 4. So yes, you're definitely on your spiritual path. And just when it could get boring, something opens the door and suddenly there's more that you want to learn, that you want to chase after, and it becomes all exciting and interesting again, and you reach new levels of mastery, and it's just awesome. So that is awesome, group number 4. So looking at the cards, what I'm feeling for you is the first card we have is the Garden from the Lenormand deck. And I feel like this kind of speaks to just how much there is to learn, and how, yes, it can be overwhelming because there's so much out there, there's so much to read, there's so much to find, there's so much to explore, there's so much to try, and then there's even more beyond that you didn't even know, and there's even more information being created and discovered. And so yeah, it can be very overwhelming at times, but you are kind of up for the challenge, and it's something that you're very committed to sticking with. And yeah, it can be overwhelming, but you enjoy the process and you like learning, and you just try to take it day by day and stick with it, and it's really awesome. Then we have the Lady, and I feel like this represents how you're also very much a very deep thinker. You don't just learn something really quickly and go on to the next thing. Yes, sometimes you do that, but I also feel like you spend a lot of time reflecting as well. I feel like you like to think about topics, think about things that you've learned and how they apply to your life, and sometimes they just trigger something in you and you want to figure out what it is. What do I like about this, or what do I not like about this? And you really like to sit and think with that and feel with that and immerse yourself in what you are learning. I feel like maybe your spiritual journey was started by a tower moment. There was something that went really wrong or was really difficult in your life, that everything kind of fell apart and everything kind of shattered and you didn't know what to do, and it was your awakening. A lot of people have an awakening that brings them up to that starts their spiritual path. And I feel like that was the case for you. And maybe you've had a few tower moments since, but I don't think they've ever been as big as that first. And some of you may not have ever had one beyond the first one that got you started. Once the tower moment came in, I feel like the spirituality realm kind of entered in very slowly, very gently, started to seep its way into your life, and you started to get very comfortable with it. It was very natural. It didn't feel forced upon you. It didn't feel like jarring to you. It just very calmly came into your life and became a part of your life kind of before you even knew it in some ways. And sometimes there is that missing piece of the puzzle, like we talked about in the intuitive portion. There's that missing piece that you just can't figure out. And sometimes it feels like something is in your way. You can't go past a certain block or something like that to learn that information or to gain access to an aspect of yourself or something like that. And it feels like something's in your way. It feels like something is trying to block you. But you always know, you always have this belief that I just have to figure out that lock. I just have to figure out that key. I just have to figure out the right angle to get past that block or to release that block or to have an understanding of that block so I can let it go. So you always find a way to like unlock that next level or to get through that next door that's opened up for you, that where you needed to learn more or you needed to solve some kind of problem in the spiritual realm. And finally, we have the Two of Swords. The Two of Swords generally represents that you're kind of at a crossroads, but what I feel this represents is that you are very protective of your spiritual practice. You're very committed to it. Nothing can keep you from it. It doesn't matter what other people say. It doesn't matter what doubts they try to put in your mind or how they might try to ridicule you or something like that, or maybe laugh at you behind your back if they don't want to do it to your face, but you're aware of it. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. You are so committed to this. Like, you're just so connected to this. This is just such an adventure, and you don't need any proof anymore. You don't need any lessons in how to trust the process anymore. This is just your playground. This is just fun for you, and nobody is ever going to get in the way of that. You will never let them get in the way of that. You're very guarded about your belief system and spirituality and your journey. So group number 4, that's really awesome. It sounds like you really have such a wonderful time with this, and that's what this is supposed to be about. Once you get over the initial tower moments and hurdles and pain, you start realizing how to find the joy in that and how to leverage the pain to your advantage and bring even more joy into your life. So I feel like you are really, really very much on your path, and it's awesome. And that's great. So group number 4, that is what I got for you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope everybody enjoyed their readings. Please leave me a comment. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.